Okay, great. So we just implemented the add the test for the add method. We move to implement the test for the add all method. We create nested class called add all method should. We create pretty display name that says add all method should. We create our first test, and we create the display name. Add all method should add new elements to the set. So it should add new elements, okay? So void add new elements, okay? So we go right there, we assert true that the TDD set add all. We could like instantiate an array list right here, and the array list, I think right here, if we like we should always code as interface, otherwise if we like one day decided to use a linked list instead of array list, we have two big problems. If we like stick with the other way around with array list, string, fake list, we should code always like with coding like interface, and that would help us. If we'd like one day to use the linked list instead of array list, we would not change to match code, we just change the implementation. Okay, so I will write right here, I will instantiate right here the list using the arrays API. I will use the fake element that we have already, and I will add some other fake elements to my test. Okay, fake 3. I just do like that, and we execute our code to see if it's working. We forgot to assert the size of our set, which would be 4. Let's do TDD size for that to make sure that our test is correctly testing what we need to test. Great, so our test is failing. We would jump directly to add all and implement what we need to implement. Okay, so right here, I would assume that we should loop for all the collection right here, the provided collection, and add and add each element. Let's rename the C to elements. Okay, elements, we forgot an E. Okay, we could do a for each with the method reference to add. Okay, when return true to fake the response. So right here we return true, but if we fake the return value, it would not harm our design. So faking the return result would be great, but if you fake like attributes or like fields, it would harm the design, and this is what I dislike about, you know, what I disagree with some developers in this situation. So our test is executing correctly, and we could like move to test the next feature. So the next one would be that add all method should not add an existing element, so it should not add an existing element. Okay, void not add an existing element. Okay, right here we do like assert. We could like first of all assert true that we add an element to the TDD set. We add our fake element, it exists already in the set, and we assert true to add the list, the same list that we have right there, So we can copy paste right here the fake list, and we assert that the size of our TDD is like 4. So we could like do fake list. We could like do this one would be like fake like 4 for TDD size. Okay, we could like refactor this one and change it. Refactor this one with a constant and like make it encapsulate the value with the private accessor, and we'll execute our code to see whether it's passing or not. Okay. Great, so it's working. Great. So we will move to the next test, which would say that our add all method should not add null element. Okay, so I would not add null elements. Okay, let's write the S right here, and let's go and assert that it would throw the null pointer exception if we try to add a list that contains that one. Okay, we could add a message right here, cannot add, cannot accept null elements. Okay, we could like we will instantiate this new array list. We could always add interface, as we said. We could add a null element right here. We could add also all the elements in our fake list to be sure that we had like test use case. Execute our code and see if it's working. Great, so it's working. Great. So we could move to the next test that says we just for the moment tested all the inputs that we could provided for our method. We provided like an element that exists, an element that does not exist, or a null element. Right now we will test the return type of that element. And that says that from the spec of the add all method, we know that this method returns false when the set was changed. So we should make sure that the add all method should return false if the set was not changed. Okay, great. So right here should return false. We use when instead of if, as I said, to be able to move to a BDD style quickly or without no problem. Okay, so return false when this set was not changed. Okay, so right here I will try to assert true I will try to add the same list 2 times, and I will see what would happen. I assert that it's true for the first one, and for the second one it would not add any of the provided element in the fake list, and it should fail. I execute my code and see whether it passes or not. Okay, so okay, great, we have a failing test. We should like implement what we need for the add all method. We could like right here, as we see, it's like if we have like we use right here the add method, so we make a for loop in the elements and try to perform the add method. So the add all method should return false if the add method, if all of elements, if we apply add method on each element and all of them should return, let's say, false. Or we could look at this the other way around to say that no element in our collection has returned true when we apply to it the add method. So we would like use the stream API right here and like map to each element to add it. Okay, we would right here see if that element was correctly added. So we could like aggregate all the results of this and of the add method of each element. So we could reduce this with a logical OR. So we could use the method inference right here to say if to make, let's say we see if there is just one that was correctly added, we return true. If no one was added, we return false. So this is why we've made the logical OR right here. So this one would return us an optional. If we see the result, it would be an optional of Boolean. But if we'd like directly to return the type, we could say that if no element was performed or no element is suited to perform for this operation, we could like return the false return type. Okay, we return or else false. Okay, so if we re-execute our code, we would see that our code would pass correctly with the stream API and with the logical OR method. Great. So we re-execute all our code to make sure that we didn't break any other test. Great. So that's it for the add all method, and see you for the next video. Thank you.